He got a questionable designation, but as Dave Helman, who's covered the league for the last 10 years, reminded me, you can no longer designate a player as probable. Shady, coming to you first. Who's under more pressure Sunday? Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni?
Sirianni, neither. What's pressure about? Listen, my Eagles, when they played the Giants the first time, starters versus starters, your guys against our guys, your best against my best, we beat them by 20-something points.
Yeah, 26.
Now, right, the Giants, they have their seed, right? They can't go any higher. Mm-hmm. They touched their ceiling. Well, we haven't. We got to win this game to get the first seed. So, yeah, I think there's no pressure. We're going to beat the backups, right? I'm hearing that the Giants is not playing too many people. I got my sources, Sean McCoy's close sources, right? And they're not playing that many players, right? So we should go in there and win that game. And we need this win to get that number one seed because nobody wants to come to Philadelphia in the cold and the link for playoffs.
That's real.
You don't want to be there, baby. I tell you what, it's going to be popping. You know why?
Why?
I'm going to be there. Meek Mill's going to be there. Gillian Wild's going to be there. Kevin Hart's we all going to be there. It's going to be loud as hell. Nobody want to play on all that noise. Listen, number one seed, baby, on the way. On the way.
Who is under more pressure, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts? I got to say Jalen Hurts. And the reason being is, Jalen Hurts is still only in his third year. So in the game of football, the long game of football for quarterbacks, he's still young. What that means is this is when you develop the approval of your head coach taking your word. Jalen Hurts is likely going to play in this game, but he's not going to play because the doctor said he could play. He's not going to play because the coach said he can play. He's not going to play because general manager Howie Roseman said he can play. He's going to play because he said he was healthy enough to play. It all comes down to the trainer going up to Shady, going up to Jalen Hurts. Hey, you good to go? Oh, yeah, coach, I'm good to go, man. You sure? Yeah, I'm good to go. Well, if you are sure, then you better be sure. Because Jalen Hurts, they are trusting what you are saying you are healthy enough to go out there, healthy enough to play this game. Because the last time we saw you, not only did you get hurt, but you didn't play great. You don't have to play this game. Shady already alluded to it. The Eagles beat the Giants by 26 points. They don't need you to beat the Giants' backups. Surely they don't. But if you gonna go out there and play, the coach is trusting that you are as healthy as you say you are. Nobody is in Jalen Hurts' body except for Jalen Hurts. For that reason, I do think, Dave Helman, there's a little bit of pressure, and this is one of those big marks of, all right, Jalen, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you. I think there's more pressure on Hurts.
Say the right thing, Dave. Say the right thing.
I mean, I agree with Shady in the sense that there shouldn't be pressure. But guess what? There is a little bit. Because it's all jokey jokes until you don't win this game, and now you're a wild card team.
Jokey jokes.
Which it's hard to imagine that. It was hard to imagine them losing to the Saints, too.
True.
And that's why I think all the pressure is on Nick Sirianni, because they shouldn't even be in this situation. They should have beaten the Saints at home, a Saints team that's not as good as this Giants team. Maybe if the Giants don't play their starters, but you get my point.
Yep.
That game was very winnable with Gardner Minshew. They didn't win. And now they're in a position where they have to play Jalen Hurts. Even if it's only until they're comfortably in the lead, which, like I keep saying, that would be the dream scenario. They can't afford, though. They cannot afford to send their backup out if their starter is healthy in a game that they've got to have. And it's the head coach that puts them in this situation. They went 0-2. Jalen Hurts got you a 13-1 start. What else do you want him to do? They're like, pressure's on, Jalen. You got to come through. He's like, I've been coming through since week 1. What are you talking about? I needed you to win one game without me, and you can't do it? Absolutely not. There's no pressure on Jalen Hurts. I assume he's obviously healthy enough to play, but I assume he's not at 100%. It's on the Eagles. We've been talking all year about how amazing their roster is. It was always silly that they would be just as good with Gardner Minshew, but I mean, we saw the Cowboys go 4-1 with Cooper Rush. We've seen teams succeed with their backups throughout the year. I saw a crazy stat yesterday, like 11 teams have needed to play a backup or something. Like half the league has needed to play their backup at some point this season. The Eagles are the most recent one, and they haven't handled it as well. I put that on the coaching staff. So I don't think there's much pressure on Jalen Hurts at all. There is pressure on the Eagles to win this game, starting with the head coach.
Where you at, Joy?
Every once in a while, Emmanuel, you'll say something that will move me off of my position. Every once in a while. I've been listening to you talk about the Eagles' losses. And while I don't agree that Gardner Minshew is the answer, they should have beat the Saints, okay? And I've arrived at that. They should have beat the Saints. Now, I don't think that it's a reflection of the Eagles not being a good team, but you got to have a game plan that makes sense for your backup quarterback. Because Gardner Minshew, despite what you may have heard on the internet, is not Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. And perhaps it was me just knowing that Gardner Minshew is not as good as Jalen Hurts and that this particular offense runs through Jalen Hurts, and it's not a plug-and-play Kyle Shanahan type of offense. I thought we were all watching the same games, but sometimes we aren't. So perhaps that's what kept me from saying, okay, this is really a bad loss, and kind of a reflection on Nick Sirianni that you can't split with a backup. We were firing Mike McCarthy before the season started. They went 4-1 with Cooper Rush.
True. True.
Which is really impressive. And it wasn't all just the defense and everybody stepping up. It was, they contributed for sure, but Cooper Rush also didn't turn the ball over. He didn't make mistakes. Gardner Minshew, what did he do against the Cowboys?
4.
3. 4 total turnovers. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Nick Sirianni. This is a game. It's most likely going to be the Giants' backups. You already beat the Giants' starters. Even if you do have to play Gardner Minshew for most of the game, you should be able to put together a game plan to beat the Giants. And that's not a dig at the Giants, because the Giants have clinched a playoff spot. Yeah. This game doesn't matter at all to the Giants, and
the Giants handled their business.
They handled their business, and everyone in the Giants building knows that. So I think there's actually a lot of pressure on Sirianni.
Well, there's not just pressure in that game, Shady. We've talked about this off camera, on camera. Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers, win and you are in for the Green Bay Packers. Dan Campbell, head coach for the Detroit Lions. Aaron Rodgers, one of the most talented quarterbacks the game of football has ever seen. There's a lot of pressure for both of these individuals, but there's more pressure in my mind, Shady, for Dan Campbell.
Ooh.
Aaron Rodgers, we know what time it is. Aaron Rodgers is one of the cockiest individuals in all of sports. I will say confidence because he backs it up. But Dan Campbell got the pressure in this one. 11, 21, and 1 through 2 seasons. That is Dan Campbell's record. 11, 21, and 1. I do not care how you slice it. I don't care how you dice it. That's 5.5 wins per season. That does not cut it on any planet, in any sport. 5.5 wins per season when you can win up to 17 games. So much pressure on Dan Campbell, Shady, because coaches got to win now. Zach Taylor, his second year in the league, his second year as a head coach. Joe Burrow shows up. Ooh, by his third year as a head coach, he's already in Super Bowl.
Yeah, big.
Mike McDaniel goes to Miami, and outside of the Tua injuries, he starts off 8-3. Make that make sense. Sean McVay goes to Los Angeles, turns 0-7 Jared Goff to 12-4 Jared Goff, then 13-3 Super Bowl Jared Goff. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Dan Campbell. I mean, I like the rah-rah. I like Aiden Hutchinson dancing to Michael Jackson in HBO Hard Knocks. I like you biting off kneecaps. But 5.5 wins? 5.5 wins per season? It does not cut it. Joy brought up that last year a lot of head coaches wound up fired that we did not think would get fired. I'm not saying that Dan Campbell will get fired, but what I'm saying is all that rah-rah goes out the window without the wins. Who's under more pressure, Campbell, Rodgers?
It has to be Aaron Rodgers. All them coaches you just named, if you take out Sean McVay, because he won a championship, let's put him over there. All them other coaches, in 10 years, if they don't win a championship, we won't remember them guys. Yeah. Right? We don't ever remember coaches unless they win games, unless they do something. Aaron Rodgers has done something. MVPs, right? Back-to-back Super Bowl winner. Right? This is Aaron Rodgers. Let's take a step back and just visualize this for a second. Aaron Rodgers, right? Before the season started, if I'd have told you, they won't win games because of him, it'll be the running game and the defense. If I told you that he won't have not one 300-yard game passing.
It's not good.
You would think I would be crazy. Shady McCoy, you can't be on TV. It's the truth. It's really happening. So, yes, it's Aaron Rodgers. Like, to be Aaron Rodgers go back-to-back, and then you don't go to the playoffs? And then you let your number one receiver leave? That would be crazy. And if they don't win this game, all the pressure, every TV station is going to be A-Rod to blame.
It's a great point. Joy, where you stand on this? Aaron Rodgers, Dan Campbell.
It's Aaron Rodgers. If the Lions don't make the playoffs, everyone's going to be like, oh.
Lions don't line things.
All right. Anyway, what else we got? No one's going to be surprised. They had a terrible start to the season. Dan Campbell's 11-21-1. And I think if you ask most Lion fans, they're pretty happy with the way that this season has ended.
Overall, yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
It's trending up. He's going to get another year. I don't think they're going to fire Dan Campbell, and I don't think that they should. They were bad at the beginning of the season, and they're trending up. They make the playoffs next year. That's the trend that you should be building.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is a back-to-back league MVP making $50 million a year.
I got the 50.
A lot of money.
How can I get the 50?
His salary is more than Campbell's contract, probably.
Easily.
Yeah.
That's just, it's back-to-back league MVP. It's Aaron Rodgers.
50.
I mean, we're talking about backing it up. He backs up during the regular season, not in the playoffs. You don't back it up in the playoffs. That's the standard. It's just like winning a couple playoff games, getting bounced in your first game. No. Now the standard is we haven't clinched a playoff game, a playoff seed yet, and we have to beat the Lions to get in. All the pressure is on Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in this situation. And the Lions need help. Like, it's not even on
Seattle
the Lions to win this game.
Oh,
like,
that is true.
the Packers have to win, and they're in. They have to beat the Lions, and they're in the playoffs. Obviously, all the pressure is on the back-to-back league MVP. And if you're telling me that it shouldn't be, then how much did Devontae Adams play a role in those back-to-back league MVPs?
Large one.
Come on now.
I can just tell that you're a long-suffering Longhorn, putting a coach
Come on now.
putting the coach on the hot seat after year two. Come on, like that's some college football stuff. Like 11-21-1 sounds bad until you say, yeah, they started 3-13 and now they have a chance to go 9-8. That's exactly where you want your coach to be. They're going to have 2 first-round picks regardless of how this season goes because of the trade for the Rams. By the way, we clowned on them for like a year about winding up with Jared Goff, and like he's a pretty damn good quarterback. Like they might not need to draft one because of how well he's playing. Like the Lions are going to be fine. They could lose this game in embarrassing fashion, and I would still feel good about where they are as an organization. Green Bay missing the playoffs because they lost to Detroit on the last day of the season at home? Nah, no. Can't happen. It can't happen.
And Jared Goff, low-key, is playing a lot better.
He's playing
a lot
great.
better than Aaron Rodgers.
High key.
He is playing
High
great.
key.
High key. Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.